Hi, this is Joe, KF7MIX, with a supplemental training video for JS8Spotter. This video is for the changes between version 1.04 and the version 1.10. Basically, the training videos on the site are from version 1.03, and I didn't want to remake all of them, and I'm sure you don't want to rewatch all of them, so I'm just making this supplement to show you what has changed in the changelog, not bug fixes and other things, but actual feature changes in the changelog between 1.04 and 1.10. Those you can find in the changelog that's distributed with the software, of course. If you don't know what JS8 Call is or what JS8Spotter is, go ahead and visit kf7mix.com and you'll find information on both there and links. But okay, let's dive into this, though, this training video. I like to keep things short if possible. I'll just go ahead and go through them in an order that the changes were made, not necessarily in order of importance or in any other kind of logical order, but let's just start. So the first change that was made in 1.04 after the training videos was in the MC Forms section. You'll notice this tools menu is totally laid out differently as well. But in the form responses section, the gateway was added. This gateway lets your station report forms that it receives to an internet gateway. If you need information on how to program a gateway or some example code, that's on kf7mix.com. This allows groups like Forest QRP uses this to keep track of forms that are submitted to the group and on a web page where other people can visit and see that. People in the group or whatever they want to do with it. All right, next thing that was added in 1.04 was the Visualize Waterfall feature in the Tools menu. This lets you basically quickly see the activity in the waterfall on a current band in a given period of time. So over the last 2 hours, I can see this is where the activity was. This lets me more easily choose in JS8 Call where to place my transmission so that I'm not stepping on other people. Another change was added later was that I added the 12-hour option, but that's not real important. Last thing that was added starting in version 1.04, but also in let's see, in some other version here, was the ability to, version 1.06 also added more, was to hide different types of activity from this matched activity pane. For example, if you don't want to see heartbeats, you can turn them off and they won't show up on the right. And that's just a toggle. And so you can hide different types of activity to narrow down what you're looking at. That was a user request, and it's pretty handy. The last thing for 1.04, no, that was the last thing for 104. 106 also added some Parks on the Air to the APRS. This lets you format the string for submitting to the Parks on the Air gateway. So you put in your information and you hit send, and it'll send it in the correct formatted string. That's for the Parks on the Air folks. And also, let's see, the ability to import and add form responses. So groups might be sharing responses. You might have someone else that received a response to a form and you saw it on the gateway, but you want to have it in your copy of JS8Spotter. So you can import and export. The format is visible through the export, but this means that I can share these with other people and they can import them in here by just hitting import and pasting and adding those responses to show up in this list. So that was added in version 1.06. And let's go to 1.07. Again, here in the form responses, we added the ability to, if you double click on a form response, you can see a nice text report, which you can save or export. Now if you right click on it, it will load that form response into the graphical interface. So if you want to look at it in this format, that is now easier to look at it in the GUI format. Also, this actually is a good example right here, because in version 1.07, the form source for the forms was changed so that you could add instructions and headings, level 1, 2, and 3, things like that. So you see here how this is the net check-in and how it shows here the instructions and different things in different colors, including this local conditions. It just makes it easier for the people that are filling out the form. So for example, if I go up here to Tools, Forms, Net Check-in, you see it has color and instructions and everything else. That's part of the form template layout now, and it's a lot easier to manage. So let's look at version 1.08. Let's see. Oh, again, in forms, there was a bug. This is the only bug I think we'll talk about, but it was pretty annoying. let's say you had a big form like this. There was a problem with the scrolling on some of the larger forms. It was weird for the vertical and horizontal scrolling. Things weren't scrolling right. That's fixed. If you noticed that and it was annoying to you, that has been fixed, and it's been fixed since version 1.08. Also, for a time, the APRS SMS was disabled because the gateway was off. That gateway has been repaired, and now you have to register your number, and the link is here in the software. But that has been re-added as of version 1.08. The only other thing was another small change in the form responses. Previously, you couldn't highlight multiple responses to delete them. Now you can. You can hold Shift and highlight multiple responses. So pretty simple, boring stuff. And those are all the changes in 1.08 that matter here. 1.09, I added import and export to the expect section. So this is again for groups that are using expect who might want to share the types of things they're using. You can now export those, share them with someone, and you can import them as well just by copying and pasting in there in that same format. That's for expect. We added, all right, let's see, I added in the detail view, this export button down here at the bottom has been added. So if you want to export this activity for that particular search term, you can do that pretty easily now. And, oh yeah, added some new maps. So what are the tools and simple offline maps? Previously it was, I think it was just North America and Europe, but Australia and Indonesia have been added. So if you're more lucky than I am and have a good setup that lets you do DX, you'll now be able to visualize those with this simple offline map. And by the way, you can add more maps. That's something a user can do. Anyone can do that. It's extensible and not a problem. All right, so this in version 1.10, which is where the software is at now, there's quite a few little things added. First of all, in the profile, when you make a new profile, it's still simple, just a profile name. When you edit a profile, you can now put in a WAV file. And the software comes with like 10 WAV files, which are notifications. So you just put in the file name, and you'll find them in the folder, and hit save. And now when you have activity for this profile, it will make a notification sound. Again, that's in the file, edit profile, and it's just the file name. Just type it in there. It's very basic, but you can have different sounds for different profiles. I've got a bunch of different profiles, and so I have different sounds for different ones. That has been added. Let's see what else. Oh, on that same note, under the Tools menu, you can disable sounds temporarily. So you can have sounds set in your settings, but let's say there's a moment in time where you just don't want to hear any sounds, you're doing other work, you can disable them temporarily right there. So that's just a toggle. Let's see. Another thing that was added is in the View menu, you see Highlight Range. This will let you highlight search terms that have activity in the last n minutes, basically. So for the last 15 minutes, you can go more. Hasn't been. It's middle of the day, not a lot of activity on 40 meters. But that lets you keep, and the highlight will disappear after those have been on there for more than 15 minutes. But it lets you, if you're quickly looking at the screen and you want to see, well, what's new, is anything going on, that lets you highlight those. There's also, I've added, let's talk about this filter. This filter is the activity on the right here based on what you want to see. So if we want to see everything for this, I see K3 ROC, let's put that in. Push enter. Now it's filtered just for the things that contain K3 ROC. If I hit refresh, it'll just refresh down there, but if I type it in, it won't do anything. You can also erase it to get rid of it, or if you just press escape, it'll clear it as well. So this is just basically to give you the opportunity to search through this very quickly and filter it down to just, if you come to your station, you want to see, did I hear anything from K3 ROC? And it'll show up there real quick. Again, escape clears that. Very basic filter for this matched activity side. There's also in the Tools menu, a very simple database search that's been added. Let's go ahead and use the same example, K3 ROC. and you can search different tables in the database. This is for people who don't necessarily want to install any database software, but they want to poke around in the database a little bit. Not a problem. If you want to do that, you can now use this quick database search. So let's search in the activity pane for that, and it just spits those out so you can paste them into, you can save them or paste them into Excel to work with that database data in a quick and easy way. Let's also search from, let's see if he shows up in the grid one. Ah, he does. He's in there. This is a new profile, so not a lot of information. All right, so let's cancel that. So that's the database search, simple database search. Expect block list. Let's talk about that real quick. So, well, two things. Pause expect replies has been added. So you have an expect system and people can send these commands, but oftentimes I don't want people sending commands if I'm using my station or if something else is going on, so I can pause the replies. It'll show up down here at the bottom in the status, and you can go up to tools and see it there. This setting will be retained after I restart the software. So if I've paused them and I restart the software, it will warn me when I start it up that, hey, that part of the software is paused. If you go in here, it will warn me as well. Expect systems currently paused, no replies will be transmitted. So it's a nice thing because I don't have to shut down JS8Spotter. I don't have to delete expect statements. If I just want to not be sending expect replies for the time being, I can do that pretty easily with that pause feature. It's a toggle so you can unpause it. Let's see what else here. Okay, I did add the two other things for expect. So there's a block list now. If there's call signs that are abusing your particular expect, or you don't want them to use it, you can add them in there with a comma. I haven't had that experience. I haven't had anyone just abusing the expect on my radio, but you never know if that becomes a problem. That is now in there. The other thing that was added previously in here, expect does have the ability to limit the number of times something is sent out. For example, if I don't want people, well, I don't know why I would care, but you can limit. You can say, I only want this expect statement to respond 10 times. So let's load that one up down here. Max replies 99 is the same as infinity. It won't count them. But now if you put in 0 and hit save, you can have an expect statement that's disabled without having to delete that particular statement. So let's say I just want to disable a couple statements here real quick. I can just put in 0 and save them. And now they're still in here. They're still, my data is retained and everything else is retained, but I've now temporarily disabled them. So that has been added in version 1.10. And I believe that's all. Might be one or two more things. Let's take a quick look at my sheet. Oh yeah, we looked at that. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There is one other thing that's been added that I'm not going to demonstrate here, but I'll talk about it, and that's there's a database migration tool that has a graphical user interface. So if you're coming from version 1.09 or earlier to version 1.10, you'll want to run that tool to update your database file. It's pretty straightforward. You will have to go ahead and read the text file that comes with the software. It'll explain what you need to know about that. And thank you for using JS8Spotter and for watching this video. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is on QRZ.